people often say, I didn't mention this earlier, but people say, well, I'm circling, I'm ending up right back where I am, or I'm going in a circle, I'm going in a circle. No, you're not. No, you're not. You're in a spiral. Okay. You are never the same person. Even when you come back to the same instance, even when you come back to repeating a relationship, a job, a situation, you are not the same person as you were the last time you were there. So you are in this spiral. And if you take a moment and you look at that and go, oh, just like you did at the eye doctor, oh, I'm in a way different place right now. I'm back at the eye doctor's, but I'm in this way different place.
Yeah.
You can take a moment and look at that and go, okay, so things have changed. That's what I meant by things always change. Things
Mhm.
have changed. These things, I'm still in this, but what maybe is not the same anymore.
What's up, you beautiful beasts? I'm Katie. I'm on a mission to help humans become their favorite versions of themselves and to strive for overall health by healing their relationship to food and exercise, healing their relationship to their body, and most importantly, healing their relationship to themselves, all without ever having to step on a scale. I have had the privilege to talk to all kinds of different humans who have been through a plethora of experiences just being a human and existing. I believe that every single time someone shares their story, at least one person listening will learn from it, be inspired by it, and maybe, just maybe, even change the entire direction of their life. These are the stories of humans unveiling their beautiful beast. Keep listening. This is the Unveiling the Beast podcast. Ladies and gentlemen, I'm with Laura Ordile. And can you tell our listeners a little bit about who you are and why you think you are who you are?
And why I think I am who I am. I am, I am so many things. I'm, you know, obviously I'm me and I am a mom and a grandmother and I have all those beautiful parts of my life. I'm also, I guess, a bit of a change specialist. I love working with people in changing their lives and moving through things that where they're stuck and they're struggling and they need a little bit of help. I love showing them kind of a shortcut to that. So I use hypnosis in that. I'm also an astrologer and a professional intuitive. And so I use that part of myself and that work in some of the things that I do with people as well. I think a lot of times people really kind of struggle and try to claw their way to where they want to get, and they go up over mountains. And I try to show them the little secret tunnel that where you can just go straight underneath to where you want to be without all that struggle.
Mm.
So, did I answer your question?
Yeah, for
Okay.
sure. Um, so my question for you would be the people that you help, are they already like wanting to change or are these people that need to change? I ask because there's certain people in my life that hate change like with a passion. Anytime anything changes, it's a big deal. And it's not necessarily like a not like an anxiety or a worry. It's just they like their structure, they like what they're doing, they like how their day goes. And so my question is, do the people you work with, are they already wanting to change?
Yes, I'm going to say yes. However, a lot of the people are like that. They don't like change. They don't know exactly. And that's a really common thing. A lot of people will find that even if they are willing to change, they start to move in a direction of change, and then something happens and it just stops them in their tracks, or they pull back. No, 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 no. I don't want that change. That's really, really common. And that's
Yeah.
because our mind is always, always trying to keep us safe. And it operates a little bit like a bus driver on a route. And so it's going on this route that it knows every day. And it's comfortable with that. It's okay with that. It knows the way. And when you try to go, hey, let's take a left right here. It's like, no, 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 that we don't know if that's safe. We don't know if that's going to be okay. And so it just tries to keep going with what it knows. And the work that
Yeah.
I do goes in and kind of reprograms the GPS a little bit and lets someone know it is safe to make that change. It is okay. Because our mind is always trying to keep us safe, always trying to do what it knows is, it thinks, I should say, it thinks is best for us. Does that mean it always turns out for the best? No, there's a lot of things that are uncomfortable, difficult, challenging, all of those things that show up in our life that oftentimes prevent change. A lot of times people will be trying to make a change in their life, and something like chronic fatigue or fibromyalgia or IBS, something very physical, presents itself and prevents that change.
Yeah.
Or we have that anxiety, the anger, the panic, something like that that steps in the way, prevents the change. So it's trying to keep you safe, but it's not necessarily doing it in the best possible way. Does that make sense?
Yeah, definitely. I know a lot of times, we go on this journey of change or adventure of change, whatever you want to call it, and people will get so uncomfortable and they take that as a sign to quit rather than knowing that's part of the journey. The discomfort, like there's no growing without discomfort. And and so that, we talk about, having a goal and hitting obstacles. And actually I would argue that the obstacles are part of the journey to get there. And so it doesn't mean quit, it means feel the discomfort and keep moving forward because eventually you'll be comfortable again. That'll be your new comfortable.
Well, and that is that discomfort, that feeling is a natural process. And it often is that we do have to move through that, go through that so that your mind and body can go, oh, look, it is okay. It is safe. Phew. And then it might release you to kind of move further. The people that, I tend to work with they just can't get past that. They can't keep moving. They can't get past the discomfort. And I often say, I talk a lot about the change process. There's these things that kind of happen in the change process where we have that catalyst, that thing that says we need to change. We need something different here. And that can be a big thing, a little thing, a lot of little things. That can be whatever it is. But there is that moment that's like, okay, change is required. And now what happens is you start to move forward. And that's where I talked about things go, oh, I don't know. That's a little uncomfortable. And often what happens is I call them, we have the fears that step in, natural
Mhm.
fears to change. But what happens even more is I refer to them as pool sharks.
Mm.
And it's that irrational fear. I actually, when I was younger, had a fear. I grew up in the Jaws era of sharks in the pool. That's not rational. There's not going to be sharks in the pool. But my body felt the fear. My body felt the adrenaline. My body felt it. And so, people will say, well, that's not rational. You need to get over that. No, you don't. Your body is telling you, I have fear. Does it make common sense? Does it make any kind of connection? Not necessarily, but that means something is in your mind that says, we don't feel safe going forward. Help us feel safe. Help us find the place to feel safe. And then we can go forward, and that's where a lot of times all the doubts come up, all the imposter syndromes, especially if you're in your own business and you're working forward in your
Mhm.
business. All of those things can come up, and it's one thing after another, oftentimes. And so it feels like it's this insurmountable thing. How am I going to move forward? How am I going to get through it? But you do, and then you kind of move into the transition, and then the transformation comes. And then you're in that space that you talked about where it's like, oh, this feels good. I feel free and I can move forward. That's a wonderful space to be
Yeah.
in.
Yeah. What came up for me when you were talking about the shark in the pool is, and this is how it came up. My son right now, he's 7, and he has a fear every time he goes to the bathroom that there's a snake in the toilet. And so what came to me was like, how can we talk to ourselves as if we're talking to our 7-year-old self? And then maybe we won't try to be like, oh no, that's dumb, or that's an irrational fear, because I wouldn't say that to my son. Well, why do you think that? I wouldn't say that. It's just, how would we talk to our younger self?
Yeah, a lot of the things that come in from when we're tiny, we don't even realize, we don't remember a lot of the things that could anchor in for us going forward. And the example that I was talking about is that maybe when you're a year and a half, 2 years old, your parents have an argument. And for that little tiny person, even if it just got a little bit loud, that was like, oh my goodness, I need that's not good. And so you have this anchor point inside you that creates something around that argument. Let's say the argument was about money. Well, then you're going to grow up with that little line of code until you go in and reset it. You're going to grow up that says money can be difficult. Money is about arguments. Money is trauma. Money is difficult, all these different things that maybe you create around it. So you might
Mm-hmm.
struggle to make money, to have money, to maintain money, to talk about money, whatever it is, you might struggle. Now, that could be about relationships,
Mm-hmm.
maybe they were just arguing about a relationship. Maybe there's something that a couple years later happens where you have this moment in school where you have this bully that comes up. So, you have to go, okay, I can't be seen because then I'm going to get bullied because that's anchored into you as that little tiny person. And what happens is our subconscious kind of, as that protector, comes out and creates a little tiny version of us when we're 2 years old and says, I've got you. It's okay. Like this little armored version. And then you move forward. And then maybe that when you're getting bullied, another version is created. I've got you. And you get to move forward. But just like, the little dolls that go one in the other, the little Russian dolls,
Mm-hmm.
we have that inside ourselves. So we have those little tiny versions of ourselves that have those anchors, those traumas, those hurts, those whatevers in there that our life now is being based on. And so the work that I do goes back and helps console those little versions, helps talk to that little guy that's afraid of the snake, or helps talk to the child that had the argument, and
Yeah.
come together and come into that acknowledgement, then that awareness. And
Mm-hmm.
oftentimes that's simply what needs to happen, is an acknowledgement. Oh, I see you're still hurting. Let's bring you into a safe space and be okay. And then you can move forward.
Yeah. That's a huge point too, because most of the time we're completely unaware that we're even running on certain beliefs. And then, like, I can't emphasize enough to the listeners how powerful it can be to get somebody to help you, like a coach or psychologist, whatever works for you, to help you find where your belief systems even come from. Because, like you were saying, the awareness, once you're aware of something, then you can change it. If you're not aware of it at all, you can't change it. And once you're aware of it, you're at choice whether or not to change it. And so the power of having somebody on the outside help you dig into yourself is massive, I think.
It is. It absolutely is. And the wonderful thing is, you know everything about you, whether you realize it or not.
Mm-hmm.
Everything about you is up here. So it doesn't matter what you remember or don't remember. You don't even have to tell me this happened or that happened. All I need to know is, what are you experiencing that you don't want to experience? And what would you like to experience? That's what I want to know. And so from there, we can work out, because if I'm guiding you, and that's what I am, I'm a guide, I go in, I'm like tour guide Barbie, and I guide you to that place. that your mind knows this is the issue. This is something you need to connect with. This part right here of you. This is where the problem is, or this is where we need to connect with in some way. And so you automatically know that's where you need to go in an aware state or in an unawareness. I have people who remember connecting with, that version of themselves. I have people that have no idea. They're like, I don't remember anything, but they feel inside themselves that that flipping of a switch. That's like,
Mhm.
wow, everything's different now. Because inside of themselves, they came to that awareness, whether they consciously remember it or not.
That's amazing. Amazing work.
I think it's magic. I love it. I
Yeah.
think it's like this magical doorway to wonderful
Yeah.
things.
Yeah, and us as coaches, our job is just to ask you questions until you find your own answers. And it's so beautiful because it's not like we tell them what to do or we tell them how they should act. It's all coming from them. And like I love that you said what did you say? We know ourselves more than we
You,
think we
you
do
know
or
everything about yourself. You
yeah,
already
that.
know everything about yourself. Right
Yeah.
here, you know it.
Mm-hmm.
And oftentimes we do just have to ask, ourselves. I love some of the processes of like free writing or the people who will write stuff down, before they go to bed and they work with their dreams, or even if it doesn't come in a dream, it can come, during the day as something else. But even if you sit down and you write out a question that you really have about your life and maybe turn on some classical music, just something in the background for 5 minutes, if you start writing, even if I don't care if you start telling the story of the three little pigs. If you just start writing, I don't even know what to write. Okay, I'm going to write the story of the three little pigs. As you're writing that out, the story is going to change. It's not going to be like the basic story. It's just going to happen. But you're going to have things that come out because, again, that information is already there and you're connected to all that is. So even if it's not there, it's going to go out and find it for you because you've asked. And
Yeah.
so it's going to bring that information in and it might tell it in a weird way in a story. But when you go back and you read that and you go, oh, what's that about? There was an extra little pig that came in the story, or there was, something interesting that happened.
Yeah. Well, tell me a little bit more about you. How did you get into this work? And was there like a point in your life where you said to yourself, I need to change?
Oh, absolutely. More than once in my
Yeah.
life. And,
Yeah.
and I went through all the things that were really difficult in the change process. I got scared and backed away from change and, and did all those things and learned a lot about it. I through a few different things. I worked with intuition, learned intuition kind of to work with other people and things. I sat down one day because I would have things happen and information that would come and I'm like, what is this that's happening? And I wanted to know, first of all, is it real and is it useful? And so I sat down with a book and went through it and it was amazing and I was like, holy cow, this is real and you can use it. And so I went from there and kind of dove into that and worked with that quite a bit. And then I brought astrology in, something I never thought I could learn, but that was always in the background a little bit. But there's so much. When you look at astrology, and especially if someone starts talking to you about, this conjunct that and this moon and that, and I was just like, there's no way I could ever retain that information. I found the right teacher, which is always makes a difference. And through the process of these little tiny bits, it was amazing. It was amazing. And every time I get to do an astrological chart with someone, it's just like I get to show them how incredible they are, how wonderful they are, and even the parts of them that they don't like or that are a challenge for them, how to bring those in and work with those to make it benefit you in a way to help you work in that energy and do that. And so I've done that for a few years and then I guess oh my goodness, it's going to be about 5 years ago now. For me, I decided, you might laugh at this, but I was like, I really want something practical, a practical tool in my life. I use those really practically anyway. But through that choice and that thought process came hypnosis. And so that was my very practical thing that I wanted to step into. And with that was a change in my life that was happening at the same time. I also worked in a corporate job for about 23 years. And the I wanted change through all of it. I was afraid of the change. I was afraid of letting go of all the things with that corporate world, the paycheck, the benefits, everything like that.
Yeah.
But there came a point where it was time to change. And I had to dive into the pool, sharks and all, and figure it out. And once that hypnosis kind of came into my life, I knew that it was like, okay, I'm going to change me first of all and clear the things that I need to clear and step forward into the things, and life kind of worked together to do that. And so about 2.5 years ago now, I stepped away from that corporate world and stepped
Mm.
into doing the things that I do now. And I get to spend some time with my grandbaby. I have a few grandbabies. One's in college and one's in middle school, and now I have a tiny one that's 2.5. And I was able to be home and help with him,
Mm.
part of the time. And so I have him, and then I get to do the work that I love along the way as well. So it's kind of the best of all my worlds that have come together.
That's awesome. I love it. And I love that you mentioned, you didn't say these exact words, but it starts with us. Like if
Oh,
we want to
absolutely.
go out and help people, we got to help ourselves first.
Oh, yes.
Oh, yeah.
I think oftentimes, within our own journey, so many of us dive into so many different things. And honestly, I'm in my hypnosis world, I am probably the last ditch effort for people. They've
Mm.
done so many other things and it just hasn't worked. And so they're like, well, okay, I'll just try this. I wish and I hope that someday that changes and I'm a little further up the ladder on that, because it's so amazing to go in and do that reset first when
Hmm.
you really want change in your life, because you clear things so that you can step in a way that is like, wow, I get to move into the things I want to do with confidence, with assurance. Are you still going to have some of the things? Absolutely. I don't take away the emotions of people. You're still going to have anxiety sometimes. You're still going to
Hmm.
have fear. You're still going to have anger. You're still going to have that human experience, thank goodness. But instead of you dipping down and dwelling in depression or anger or anxiety and not being able to move out of it, you're going to move through it
Hmm.
like you're meant to. Like everyone is meant to. We're meant to experience emotions. But the great thing is when something difficult happens and you go, "Oh no, what? I don't want to deal with this," or you don't live in that for hours or days or weeks or months. You take that breath and you have that core inside of you that is okay. I'm okay. I'm not happy about that. I'm not excited about that, but I'm going to work with that. I'm going to find my way through that.
Mm.
And that's like, wow. And that's where I needed to get to,
Yeah.
because I had a lot of anxiety. I had a lot of anger. I had a lot of all the things that come along with that. A lot of tears about being unhappy in what I was doing, not knowing if I could move forward, not knowing if I was good enough, all those things. And I had to get to that space inside myself that was like, that might happen or that might not happen. And I'm okay. I'm okay. Because our brain is so crazy about taking us down those journeys, isn't it? Of all these
Yeah.
things have not happened. All the terrible, or I'm going to be a bag lady, or I'm going to live alone for the rest of my life, or this disastrous thing is happening. It hasn't happened. So bring yourself back to okay. Maybe even take yourself purposely down the road of what if we went the whole other way and everything is wonderful and okay and all the magic happens? What if
Hmm.
that? And then stay in that for a moment and see how that
Yeah.
goes.
I'm going to tell you a very random story that's completely relevant to what we're talking about. Um, this morning, I had an eye exam, and because I had to renew my contact lenses, and uh, the doctor, he's like, they ask you the questions. Are you still blah blah blah? Are you still blah blah blah? Are you still a shipping manager? No. And he's like, no, what are you doing now? I'm like, oh, I quit my job and opened up my own coaching practice. And he's like, what? And I had this huge realization of how completely different my life is at this appointment than it was at my appointment a year and a half ago. So it was just this whole like, back then I was stressed, my hair was falling out, I had weird skin rashes on my hands. My job was just, ugh, you know, and then they take my people away and blah, 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 blah. And then I check out. And versus today, I'm just calm. I've taken care of a lot of my own shit, and yeah, it was a huge realization for me. And it's taken a while, it takes a while. And it's worth putting the time in because the time's going to pass anyway. So I just wanted to share that with you because it just happened today.
That's so cool. I love that. And
Yeah.
isn't that amazing? And then we forget sometimes until something like that happens. Oh,
Mm-hmm.
wow. I was in that place and look at how different things are now. And you made that choice. And that's the
Mm-hmm.
biggest thing because you're right, time passes. The thing that people don't realize is that things change regardless. They
Yeah.
change, and you make the choice to change if you want change, or you make the choice to continue to just let things change around you because they do change. Everything changes. You change from now to next year, and you've made that choice.
Mm-hmm.
And even if you were in the same place, you made the choice, and you're probably at that point more more, if you chose to stay where you were, you made that choice. And we all get to make that choice. Some people say, I don't have a choice. And I have to disagree with you. You do have a choice. You
Yeah.
might not like the choices you're making in the moment, but you're making them. We all have the ultimate responsibility for ourselves.
Yeah.
And sometimes we have to make difficult, uncomfortable, not great choices.
Yeah.
But do you stay in that choice? Or do you continue to move forward and go, all right, I have to take this job because I have this huge bill I have to pay. It's not great. It's not this, it's not that, but it will get that paid. And then I can make the choice in that moment. Do I stay in it or do I continue and do something else? That's okay. You might make that dive down for a moment into the uncomfortable, but that doesn't mean you have to stay there.
Yeah. That's huge. And the time passing piece, I get a lot of people that are like, it'll take too long. I'm not going to do it. Well, time's going to pass anyway. Do you still want to be where you are in a year in your
Well, and that's,
comfort?
yeah, and that's one of the things I love about the work that I do as well. And it sounds, I don't want it to sound like snake oily or anything like that.
Right.
But with the hypnosis that I do, it's not years. It's not forever. It's a matter of weeks,
Mm-hmm.
sometimes less in the changes that come in people. I actually worked with someone and they had some really like severe PTSD. I work with PTSD, CPTSD, things like that. And she had 17 really intense symptoms that were going on for her: hypervigilance, anxiety, panic attacks, this whole list, laundry list of things. And we were working together and we were talking and I said, well, again, I think I mentioned that little switch, that little light bulb moment that comes. And we got to the sixth session with her 6 weeks in, and which is pretty normal with me, 6 to 7 weeks. I do some other stuff that can be a little more condensed. But after that sixth session, we came back and she goes, "You're right. I things are gone. Things have changed. Something's very different." And we had cleared or severely lessened everything on that list. 17 different things
Mm.
in 6 weeks. Now she's at a place where she can go forward, she can move forward, she can work with a coach, a mentor, whoever it is, to make the changes that she wants to make in her life at that point without the back and forth and the struggle and the constant stops and the blocks and all of those things. She can speak freely about the things that she's feeling. Maybe it is a stopping point and it's like, yeah, but here's what I think I can do about that. Or it
Mhm.
doesn't stop them in their tracks and block everything. When you go in and you allow that freedom to move forward in a matter of weeks, it's just like poof,
Mhm.
wow, that's amazing. And I love that. And that's one of the things that I love that I get to give to people is I open the door for them.
Yeah.
And then they get to choose where they go because you still make the changes or you don't. You still have to take the actions or you don't. You know, hypnosis isn't the end all be all. It's the door that opens the way for you and says, you can go now. You can get where you want to go. You don't have, you can leave all this behind. And here's some things that are really going to help you. Take those with you and go do what you want to do now. And that might mean you still need someone to walk with you and guide you and help you
Yeah.
along the way because you're living a whole new life now. And maybe you don't know how to engage with people completely because you've had all that anxiety for so long. And now you don't have it. And it's like, okay, well, I feel okay engaging, but I don't really know how. And so
Yeah.
that's okay. Now you go find the people that show you how.
Yeah. I love that you say that too, because a lot of people think that personal development or healing is like you go on this journey and then here you're healed, or boom, I'm personally developed. And it's just like, it's this constant. I don't typically use the word journey because in my head, journey has a destination. So I've been using the word adventure. Like, where
Adventure,
am I
yeah.
going? I don't know where I'm going, but I know I'm going this way. And I'm going to just keep doing this.
Well, yeah,
So,
because isn't that what life is? Life is the
mhm.
adventure. Life
Yeah.
is all about, being in the moment, enjoying and experiencing the past, looking to the future, finding the joy. It's all about all of that, living the human experience. And
Hmm.
as long as you're in this body and alive and living, you're meant to change. You're meant to develop. So people often say, I didn't mention this earlier, but people say, well, I'm circling, I'm ending up right back where I am, or I'm going in a circle, I'm going in a circle. No, you're not. No, you're not. You're in a spiral. Okay. You are never the same person. Even when you come back to the same instance, even when you come back to repeating a relationship, a job, a situation, you are not the same person as you were the last time you were there. So you are in this spiral. And if you take a moment and you look at that and go, oh, just like you did at the eye doctor, oh, I'm in a way different place right now. I'm back at the eye doctor's, but I'm in this way different place.
Yeah.
You can take a moment and look at that and go, okay, so things have changed. That's what I meant by things always change. Things
Hmm.
have changed. These things, I'm still in this, but what maybe is not the same anymore? Maybe it's changed that it's okay with you anymore. It's not okay anymore. Maybe it's changed that the desires that were really there for you before have changed, and now you want to go in a different direction. Maybe your relationship has changed. Everybody's relationships changes constantly.
Hmm.
And so it's all about what you're choosing to accept, what you're choosing to move into, and how much you want to open the door to what's next. Because I think and I believe that every time we move into a new adventure, every time you say yes to something and you explore, it's kind of like when you walk into a big convention or you walk into a big thing that's going on and you're like, "Ooh, this isn't, there's so much here." And then you pick out something that you want to know more about. You go over there. Well, what happens is they go, "Oh, by the way," and they open another door and you walk into this whole other room that's got all of these things again, and you're like, "Oh, I didn't even know this was here. This is amazing." And that's what life is. If you will let that happen, it's always about what's available to you next, what's there, and what's going to grab your attention.
Yeah.
And from there, you'll find the door opening again.
This is good stuff. Oh, well, I have one more question for you, and I ask everyone at the end of every episode, and that is, if you had one piece of advice that you could give to the world, what would it be?
I would say change. Remember that change is always possible, always possible. And that a couple things. You are never too broken, never, to heal and to move forward. And you never have to just live with it. A lot of people will tell you, well, that's just who you are, or that's just what's happening in your life. You just have to learn to live with it. No, you don't. Most of the time, no, you don't. I mean, there are, exceptions to that, but for the most part, no, you don't have to experience the difficulty that you're going through. So reach out and explore and find, even if it's that last ditch effort for the next person, and go into that and go into it with the willingness of, I know change is possible. Go into it with that.
Beautiful beasts, Laura Ordile signing off. Until next time, Balaka.